Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, I mean, for once, the forever optimistic Villa Filler podcast had reason to be, mate. You called this on the podcast. You predicted a win. You made me feel a lot better about it before. And I can't lie, I didn't feel this good until the whistle went because that last 5 minutes was tense. But, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, wow. It feels so much better to be able to enjoy a Saturday and everything like that, mate. The mood is completely different, and yeah, I've had a great day. It was the first foot match of the day. I was at Salford actually for their game today. Obviously, I've lived here for a year now, so about time I got down to the Ammies and everything like that. They won 4-0. They were really impressive. They had a very good game. So yeah, I technically did support my local today. So, there you go. So yeah, both the teams I was remotely involved with today. When obviously I was disappointed I couldn't be at the Villa and everything like that. But that needs must, mate. Needs must. And I was, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter where you're watching from. It just feels, as I said, so good to be able to go and enjoy your Saturday and everything like that, man. Not have this dark cloud of a loss hanging over to you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I'm sure the Rudy's tasted better for it, mate. I'm sure the
Rudy's tasted better for
unreal pizza that. You guys got to get at it. This isn't a sponsor. I wish it was because they're fucking unreal. Mate, where to start? Because now, before the game, and, we said on the podcast, mate, we're yet to see Steven Gerrard tactically outwit someone. And that was on my bucket list for today. Now, I'm by no means saying that Steven Gerrard is a master tactician and is the biggest brain box in football and is, the second coming of Pep Guardiola by any means. But I am somewhat happy, personally, with the game plan and how we executed that and how we stuck to things when things got a little bit tough today. I think I got what I wanted from this game. We got 3 points, and Steven Gerrard showed me that there is some form of in-game management that has kind of put me not completely. Listen, first of all, by no means Gerrard out or whatever. That's completely ridiculous, but it certainly put to rest a lot of the worries I had this time last week, mate, when we was talking about Bournemouth.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think it's one of those where I wasn't blown away by the performance. I'm not totally convinced that the diamond with the two up front is the way to go. I still think there's better solutions to come from this squad, but it worked. And it's one of those where I think we really need to address what we're going to do with now. I'm not entirely sure about how plausible it is to run a diamond in today's day and age. It does feel like it can be quite easily negated. But all of that aside, what I was really impressed with, mate, is that the criticism from the Villa for the longest time, and this was the case after Bournemouth, is how difficult we find it to break down a low block.
Yeah.
That we really struggle in those situations. And Everton did that, particularly in the first half. Obviously, they had that bank of five. And then it was Doucouré and Iwobi, and then Tom Davies and Iwobi in a midfield, two in front of them. So you had, including the goalkeeper, like this wall of about 8 players to try and get through. And they were trying to spring and hit on the counter and cause trouble from set pieces, which is another whole ball game, which I probably think we need to discuss at some point, is how dodgy we looked any time a ball came into the box. But we did it, and we broke it down well, and the goal is good. It was good to see Danny get that kind of goal, because that's what you feel like his bread and butter is. That's what we saw him do time and time again at Southampton that season. I think he got 22 goals. Like, you felt like that one touch out your feet, second to hit it, finish, is like his trademark. And the more that we can get out of him in that sense, the better. It's a really nice touching match, and it was, just a really nice goal, to be honest with you. And so, that set the mood right. As I said, whether the diamond is the way to go, I'm not sure. You don't see too many examples of it in world football. And the most recent I can think on, like a major stage, is, I mean, Zidane. That's what Zidane used to win the Champions League 3 times, was the diamond in with Benzema and Ronaldo up front. Now, that is a slightly different circumstance, because we're talking about completely realms of players. But that's the only time I can think in recent years where I've seen a diamond used on like top stages. So it'd be interesting to see what we go with. You imagine with the win, that's what we'll use going into Palace. But we got a win, mate. And as I said, there are things we need to address. We need to address what happens when we defend set pieces, because that's the sort of thing you need to snuff out now, because we saw it plagued Leicester last season. It played Everton last season. There's so many teams where like set pieces were continually their downfall, and you can't let that become a habit. So if we sort that out, great. But Diego's going to be a big loss in that sense,
mate. Yeah, I don't think I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's been a diagnosis just yet. But Stevie G said it was fairly serious, and he's going to have to go for a scan.
He left on. I know he left on crutches. I know he left on crutches. I saw a video of him. So.
Brilliant. He was. I think people just bounce off him. He's unreal. Looks so assured constantly. So fingers crossed for a speedy recovery. I guess that gives Callum and Ezri a bit of a chance, which I'm not against. We love Callum Chambers on the bit filler, and Ezri. We love them both. But got to give a shout out to John McGinn, mate. John McGinn, was phenomenal today. He really was, and I'm not having it from anyone else who thinks otherwise. This guy was remarkable. 87% pass accuracy, won 9 of his 10 duels. His range of passing was sublime. It genuinely felt like we had Andre Pirlo on the pitch at times. And there wasn't a blade of grass that this guy didn't cover, and plays a pivotal role in the first goal, with the ball out to Ollie Watkins. It's funny, as soon as that, I've mentioned this guy on the podcast before, there's a bloke who sits behind us, and he literally shouts at everything. Someone will breathe and he'll be like, "Come on, Villa!" And it sounds exactly like that. I'm just so that everybody knows that was a dead accurate representation. And before the ball had even left McGinn's feet, he's going, "What are you doing, McGinn?" And it obviously lands perfect. Ollie Watkins finds the ball and delivers a beautiful cross, and Danny Ings scores. And while everyone's celebrating, I look around and the guy is he's dead silent. He's sat there like, because everybody can hear him. I bet John McGinn heard him, mate. He's that loud. I haven't missed them kind of shouts at Villa Park, but we got to give a shout out to Guinea. I thought he was fantastic. I thought the whole midfield was. I think there were, JJ. It was a disaster class against Bournemouth. It really was, and I thought he had a decent game. I did feel there were parts of the game where, in the second half, I think it probably lent itself to Dougie coming on. Because there was a sort of 10-minute period where Everton really put a lot of pressure on us at half time, and this is where I give my credit to Steven Gerrard, because they come out and instantly it was a long diagonal ball from the centre halves to the wing backs every single time, going to either Mikalenko or Patterson, and we was on skates for the first 5 minutes. We did not really know what to do. And it almost worked from Lampard, to give him some credit, I guess. It pinned us back, but we got the response. Stevie told the fullbacks they need to get further up the pitch. We need to be pressing a bit more aggressively to stop this out ball from going out that's constantly putting us under pressure. So that's where I want to give him credit, because after that, mate, we had about 75 minutes of this game was Villa domination, really. And I'm not saying we completely blew them away or whatever, but in terms of control possession and sustained possession for a couple minutes at a time, which is something that we haven't really seen under Gerrard. I have to give my credit for that, mate. I thought that I think the reaction's been fairly mixed. I think people are happy with the win, but and this is just me personally, I think we controlled the game well enough, and I'm quite satisfied with that, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's such a step up, and as I said, I don't think by any means it's the finished article. I think we'll get a better sense of that against Palace next week, because they're a good footballing side, and I think in terms of how well our system and how well we can play, we'll square up against a team who really have a good identity, and I think we'll perhaps get a better idea of where we're at, because Everton are at 6s and 7s at the moment. They really are. But yeah, mate, as I said, I really don't want to get too bogged down. We were never going to reach the finished product today. It was just about making progress, and I think next week we have to do the same. It's a very difficult place to go and win. I think it's just about alleviating some of the negativity that it was existing. There was a lot of good things that happened today. thought Boubacar looks fantastic.
Wow.
His
What a
passing
player.
range is sensational. A good game for Tyrone, and it must mean a lot for him to come back. And you'd assume, unfortunately, with Diego's injury, that his role will be well and truly replenished in the squad, and he'll go back to being that starting centre half. With
Not
who?
unfortunate that Tyrone's starting, by the way, guys. Don't
Oh
get
no,
that
no,
confused.
no!
He meant
Of course not.
The injury is
Of course not.
unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not something that, obviously, we're very happy to see Tyrone back, and it's the silver lining is probably a better way to put it. In that, hopefully, we can get him back to his best. But obviously, we'd rather have Diego and give him, because he's looked sensational in all of the games, and we can only hope it's not as bad as it looks. But yeah, I think you look at it, and I think Watkins, for me, I still have the bugbear that he still should have put that chance away to make it. Was
Mate,
it
100%.
3-0 at the time?
3-1.
That 3-1, sorry, 3-1, and that stops all the panic that we had later on in the game if you're in that position.
Yeah.
But you know what? Obviously, I don't know if I'm trying to spin it too positively, like make something out of nothing. But do we draw that game last season? Like what happens there? Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, because we beat them.
Well, yes, yeah, no. In like, I mean, it's a very good point. Touche. Like in terms of the last, when they were bombarding us with like 5 minutes.
No, yeah, it felt very Wolves, didn't it?
Yeah.
When we conceded, it felt very Wolves at home, and that's not just because they were wearing yellow and Connor Cody was on the pitch. It did very much feel, oh shit, here we go again.
And that's what I mean. I was like, so I don't know, maybe but that kind of resilience is obviously it's not a good thing that we had to go through that, but the fact that we didn't concede is something good. And obviously we dug pretty deep and held on to the win there when we really needed it. So yeah, you can look at that both ways.
We scored 3 goals, mate, didn't we?
Yes, yeah. It's interesting that Dean scored for Everton. Well, Dean scored against Everton as an Everton player last season. Now he's scored for Everton as a Villa player this season. It's crazy how he's
net zero now.
2 own goals. Yeah, so he's yeah.
They love him again.
The goal difference is at 0 for Luca Dean and his personal vendetta against those 2 clubs. So fullbacks had a good game. Shout out to Matt Cash as well, who I thought was excellent. But yeah, I think Palace is with this result. Don't get too high. Definitely don't get too low. And I would look to Palace as the test now. That's the barometer for me where I can gauge where we're at.
Well, you see, the thing is, mate, Emi Buendia comes on, and I did genuinely, I have to preface this with, I thought Coutinho played well. I don't think he played terribly. There's just an energy. There is an energy that Emi Buendia brings, and I don't know if because, we genuinely haven't seen enough of him from last season. There's not been enough minutes, and I don't know if it's a hunger to prove himself because he's not been in the team. But there's a tenacity and an energy and a desire and a willingness to throw himself into the tackle and to cover just so much more ground than Philippe does. And obviously he gets his reward with the goal, which is entirely in his making. That he draws the centre halves out, finds Watkins, creates that space for him at the back post. It's vintage Buendia, and it's going to be the debate of the season again, mate. This season is going to completely and utterly revolve around who should start out of Coutinho and Buendia, because it feels like it's going to constantly switch between the two. And we've seen Emi. He's scored the winning goal today. He's done that. He's
Yep.
Will he start? Will he start against Palace? It's mad that I don't know.
Yeah, Buendia was excellent, and he does so often change the game in those positions. And I think there is something to be said in that he's such a tool coming off the bench. He's been such an asset to us in those situations. They're 2 different players, 2 very different players. They play that 10 position so differently. Coutinho has a lot more of a languid, relaxed, more precise playing style, where Emi he plays at 110. Yeah, he's electric. He plays at 110%. But I don't think he's quite as, I mean, it's just an experience thing, but precise and as fine-tuned and everything like that. And I think with Emi, in that he'll try a ball, he'll have to try it twice before it comes off exactly. But when he gets it right, it will be like, I think he's one of those players, because of how much he wants to try and bring to the game. There isn't necessarily that precision. They're both wonderful players, and we're both very lucky to have them. And I think we have to look at it in terms of like, yeah, we're blessed to have these 2 options rotating in and out of the 10 position, because A, it's not a position that's played much in world football at the moment, and B, they're too, but like honestly, so great. And like, I can't imagine there's too many sides genuinely in the league, certainly outside the top six, that have that many options in the number 10 position that are as good as those two boys. It'd be interesting to see who starts against Palace. I think they're both suited to very different games. I think Emmy's potentially someone that can help against sides lower down the league, but that precision and Coutinho's now perhaps help more against the top six, which I think if you look at his goals against United and City and stuff like that in those games last season will sort of lend itself to. I think it's just a matter of balancing it by game and sort of who's right for what fixture. But yeah, it's great to have both of them. And Emmy was excellent, mate. So let's hope he gets some minutes, certainly against Palace.
Shout out to him, man. And yeah, I think it's probably a good note to end on. Viva Emi Buendia. I hope you have a great night out in Manchester, mate, because
cheers, yes, we're out celebrating.
Where are we off to?
We're not too sure yet. We're going to see where the night takes us. I haven't actually booked anything. So yeah, we'll see. I'm sure you'll find out, mate. I'm sure you'll find out. Viewers, you probably won't. Maybe that's for the best. But yeah, for the preview, if I have a good one, I'll fill you guys in.
Love that from you, mate. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Holte Villa.